Today on the Transplant Helper, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 settings you could change right now in your Apple/iOS device that definitely could change your life and maybe even save your life in certain situations. Stay tuned.
Hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification to become part of the Transplant Helper community.
Hey folks, welcome to Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle, and today we're going to be taking on one of those videos that I rarely do where I kind of use tech alongside of health. Put those things, mesh those things together that hopefully help us out. And what we're actually going to be doing today is talking about 5 settings you could be turning on inside of your iPhone, your iOS device, particularly if you have iOS 13. I've been a beta tester for that now for several months. The release of iOS 13 is coming up on next week, so hopefully you'll be able to get access to this. If not, some of these features are already found in iOS 11 as well as iOS 12, so don't be disappointed. But once you get to the iOS 13 update, which I definitely recommend, it's been great already, you'll definitely see these settings just as they are on my phone. But with that being said, let's jump in. Let's start setting up a few of these things that potentially could save our lives, help us out, and maybe even save the lives of others. Okay, so the very first one I want you to do, go into your settings app, wherever that is. Go into your settings app. Once you get there, scroll down just a little bit and kind of find yourself in this secondary grouping and hit on Do Not Disturb. Now, Do Not Disturb is a feature that's been around for quite a while. As a matter of fact, the reason it came around was so we could have a break, okay? Get off social media, get away from the constant text, the notifications that drive us mad sometimes. But the feature I'm really worried about is not that. It's not about taking a nap. It's one that's a little bit farther down in this tab, and it's called Do Not Disturb while driving. Now, you know as well as I do, we are way too distracted when we're in our cars driving down the road, and there are hundreds and hundreds of accidents that happen every day just because someone's trying to text, to tweet, to snap, check on their social media, or maybe even as innocently as getting a phone call that's just not necessary in the moment. So I would encourage you to go in that Do Not Disturb while driving tab, hit on it, and you can see mine is set to automatically. That's probably the best way to go. If I set it over here to manually, more than likely, I'm never going to actually set in the car before I drive off and turn it on. I'm just not going to use it. I don't happen to be one who uses a Bluetooth connection in my vehicle as well, because I just don't like getting the call over that Bluetooth speaker in the car. I like to rather pick my phone up and actually listen more carefully, or maybe I've got my AirPods in so I can answer just with a tap. But anyway, I do recommend you do set that to automatically. Now, what's going to happen if you do that is every time you get in your vehicle, after the phone detects that your vehicle is moving, moving down the road, it's going to put it in that Do Not Disturb mode. Now, there'll be more options in beneath that where you can choose, what you do with Do Not Disturb, whether you just don't hear the notifications at all, or in essence that when you hear that, it responds back to people with some sort of message, saying I'm driving, I can't be disturbed right now, that sort of thing. Anyway, you can find all that and set that up nonetheless. But I do think Do Not Disturb is the very first thing you should be using inside of your iOS device that can actually save your life and even the life of someone else. So let's back out right now. Let's go back out to the main. This is underneath the settings tab again. So let's go back out to that and let's scroll down a little bit farther for the next setting I think you should actually turn on, or at least make a decision about. And that is down here in this, is it the third group down, I believe? But it's Emergency SOS. Now, this is a newer feature to iOS 12/13. What it basically does is if you tap on your power button, wherever that is, I happen to have an iPhone XR, so mine's right here. But if I tap on that power button very quickly 5 times, it will actually go ahead and alert EMS type, emergency services. Okay, so that can be great. If you get in a position where you have some sort of an accident, or heaven forbid you fall ill, you have some kind of attack, all you've got to be able to do, if you can, is just tap on that button 5 times. If you're in trouble, it will immediately call those EMS services. In addition to that, if you've got it set up this way, you can actually set that up so that it sets off kind of an alarm, okay? So it starts a very loud, screeching, beeping noise that will alert people around you in the vicinity that something's going on, okay? So that's a great feature. Now, in addition to that, if you'll look down just below that where you tick that button on, which I got it ticked off and back on now, look down beneath that, you'll find auto call, which you can also add. And these are numbers that you choose to add for yourself that are the emergency contacts. In my case, I've got my wife right here. I've got my UAB transplant coordinator listed right here. And again, that's because if I get in a position, where I'm in trouble, I may not just want EMS to be notified, that's most important, but I'm going to want my family and maybe my transplant center to be notified that something has occurred. And then that way they'll at least have that alert and they can decide what they need to do with that. So I would encourage you to go ahead and set up the emergency contacts and have that auto call turned on so that it calls the EMS as well as some chosen people there. Now, that leading me on to the next part of this, and that is you do need to set up those emergency contacts. Make a choice as to who you want to set up with that. And I'll show you that in just a moment as we go into the very next thing right here in behind that. So again, that was the SOS feature, turning that on and also turning on potentially some emergency contacts there. Now I'm going to exit out of the settings right here for just a moment. The next part of these are going to be found inside of your health app. So I happen to use my health app quite a bit. It shows me facts, as you'll see right here, like, stairs climbed in the last couple of days, how many steps I've taken, which you can tell right here. It's been kind of a slow day for me. Haven't got up and done a whole lot yet. It's early in the morning though. But, you can go in and see this and see some valuable information as far as, health and some motivation to keep on going. But what I'm really concerned with now is going in, and this is iOS 13's layout, mind you, but go in and click on that profile picture. Happens to be me eating a huge cheeseburger, but go into that and that will allow you to start making some edits to your health information. The first one there on the top, I definitely encourage you to go ahead into and fill out your health profile. It's just simply your name, the full name, date of birth, sex, blood type is important. Some other information right there if you need any external devices, things like wheelchairs are listed. Just a lot of information you can find right there inside of this first tick, that health profile that I think could be potentially important. Give some valuable information to anyone if they're trying to help you out. As a matter of fact, I joked a few weeks ago on Facebook, I found out I was 44 years old by looking in the health profile. I didn't know that. I thought I was 43 the whole year. But anyway, health profile. Next one right there, medical ID. You can see how important that is. Similar information right there. It mentions the condition here, which I chose. You could list as many as you want, of being a heart transplant recipient, because you know as well as I do, if you're a transplant recipient, there are several situations through which you're going to need to be treated differently in any given situation, regardless of what's happened, whether it's related to your your donated organ or not. If you fall ill or get in an accident, there may be certain things they do to treat you that are a little bit different. So knowing that is important. Again, I got my height, my weight right here, and then again I've got these emergency contacts listed, and this is where you go to put those in. So inside of your health app, those emergency contacts that you saw back over in SOS to call if you hit that button 5 times, they're right here. Go in and hit edit, and of course that allows you to go in and change any of this information. I'm sorry for getting out of that accidentally. To change any of this information and to make it possible for you to add those contacts. You see right here down at the bottom of the button, add emergency contact. That's where I'd go in and continue to add those in. Okay, so let's look back just a little bit in this. Again, we're still in the health app. I've got the health profile I just mentioned, health medical ID. Now, organ donation. This is where you can actually save someone else's life. You know as well as I do, if you're an organ transplant recipient, how valuable, how important it is, how wonderful it is to have had the gift of life given to you. And that's made possible by those who choose to donate their organs in a situation, whether it's a living organ, maybe they give a part of their liver or a kidney, or it's deceased donors, unfortunately, where they donate other organs like that. You can actually register, and you have been able to not only in this iOS 13, but in previous ones as well. You can actually go in right here and become an organ donor. So you can edit your registration right here because I've already registered, or you can choose to register right here. So that's just one step farther than what people typically think about, going down to the DMV or whatever and registering. You can actually do it right here on your phone. You don't even have to go online. Go right here on your phone and register. And then the wonderful thing about it is as long as you have your phone around, that's another tab someone can find and click on to see that you're an organ donor. Okay, and here's another tab I think is brand new to iOS 13, and that is health records. Okay, so you got all these things listed. Next part here, the accounts. The health record, you can now go in with most transplant centers, most medical facilities, and they've got some kind of an online portal, they generally call it, where they give you access to your latest updated medical records, and you can now add those accounts. You can see I've got UAB Medicine right here. Once I click on that, which I won't right now, but once I click on that, it'll open my most recent medical record. It'll show me all the testing that's been done, the procedures that have been done, the results of those tests. As far as your medical facility carries that is what they'll be able to see here. And that could be extremely handy, again, for those people who may be helping you out in an emergency situation because, they have access to that, okay? So I think that's just another great feature. I think you do need to go ahead and attach that if you at all possibly can. So that's basically the stuff inside of the Health app. So we got Do Not Disturb, SOS inside of the main General tab, and then Auto Call, Health app type related linking stuff over here in the Health app. And the last one I want to add right here, I guess this is number 5, although I've kind of given some sub tips right here, is turn on location services. Now, maybe you don't want to do this all the time. Yes, it can waste some battery, that sort of thing. But go into settings, the general tab, or go into settings right here, scroll down just a little bit, and you'll find a tab called privacy. It looks like the little hand, like stay out of my business, out of my face. Go into privacy, click on location services right here at the top, and you can decide right there inside of that tab what apps you want to share your location with, okay? And I would encourage you to turn most of those off, but then there are going to be times when it's actually great to share your location. Let me go back. I've gotten lost here. To share my location, for example, by hitting that tab with some individuals, okay? So I've chosen to share my location with my family, my son, my wife, my daughter, whoever down here at the bottom. And you can actually go in and edit that. And what will happen is you can make a choice when you do that, whether it shares your location forever, maybe for the entire day, or maybe for a few hours. You say, well, Jim, why does that matter? Well, let's suppose I get a wild hair and I decide I'm going to go out and, go for a long walk or hike in the woods. I sometimes do that, not all the time. But suppose I do that and maybe I get out in the woods and I get lost, I get confused, or I get out there and I get in trouble, I get hurt or injured. Then my location is being shared with my family during that period of time. And so if I don't come home for a couple of hours past when they think I should, they have access to actually going in, checking that location, seeing where I was last seen or seeing where I currently am. That can be absolutely great. We live in a scary, scary world here today where, unfortunately, even though we don't want the eyes of, everybody watching us, sometimes you want the eyes of your family knowing where you are. Now, we've got other apps installed on our phone that do that, but I think the Apple device apps actually built in here, right here, under location services, can definitely be one of the better ones, and it can keep them knowing where you are, at least if they needed to, okay? Heaven forbid that should happen, but if they need to, they would know where you are. Okay, with that being said, I hope this helped you out in some way. I realize it's not generally what we talk about here on the Transplant Helper, but I do think having these 5+ settings turned on could potentially save your life and those around you. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate each of you. All of you have subscribed to this channel, hit the bell. That's definitely been a huge help and encouragement. All of you are constantly asking questions. That's a huge help to me to just continue to have information to hand out, to share with you. By the way, if you have a question related to transplant or general health, or you just want to be nosy and find out something about me, I'm always willing to answer those. Just go ahead and comment below the video, or find me over on Facebook, send me a private message. I'd be more than happy to do what I can with that. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, stay stronger, friends.